overbearing regulations. They're burdening job creation, and it adds more cost and more red tape. Through the regs agenda, I'll continue fighting to bring regulatory relief to the American people. Thank you, and I yield the remainder of my time.
The gentleman yields back. The chair recognizes the gentlelady from California, Ms. Lee, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Ask unanimous consent to address the House.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, let me take a moment to thank the gentlelady from Ohio, Congresswoman Marcia Fudge, for her fearless and her tireless leadership in protecting our democracy and the bedrock, of course, of our country, and that is the right to vote. She's done an amazing job keeping us very focused and pointed with all the information we need to try to address this in a big way. Once again, I'm here today to sound the alarm because make no mistake about it, the fundamental right to vote, which is at the heart of our democracy, it is under attack. Republican legislators and governors are proposing partisan laws that require voters to show government-approved photo ID before voting. Now, I came to this floor years ago after the stolen presidential elections in Florida and in Ohio to protest the results of those two elections that were filled with voter suppression. It worked for the Republicans before, and so legislators in 42 states in this map of shame have doubled down on these strategies to make it harder for certain communities to vote. These proposals would disenfranchise 21 million Americans. That's over 1 in 10 eligible voters in America who do not have adequate identification. Now, how in the world, for example, would my 100-year-old aunt get her birth certificate to prove who she is to get a government ID to vote? She wouldn't know where to start, nor how to pay for it. And it's no coincidence that a disproportionate number of these affected voters come from communities of color, as well as the poor, the elderly, and students. Fully 1 in 4 otherwise qualified African Americans would be unable to vote under these voter ID laws. Around 1 in 5 Asian Americans, Latinos, and young adults between the ages of 18 to 24 would be blocked. In my home state of California, a voter ID bill was introduced to suppress voter participation. It would cost $26 just to get the required documents to qualify for a government-issued ID. Now, having been born and raised in Texas, this certainly looks like a poll tax to me, which those of us remember as a way to prevent African Americans from voting. These voter ID laws have a partisan agenda, seeking to disenfranchise and deny specific populations of voters before they have the opportunity to elect their representatives in government. These partisan laws, they're shameful and they're a disgrace to our country. If these Republican lawmakers were truly concerned with fighting voter fraud, they would take on actual documented problems such as distributing flyers with false information meant to trick voters, improperly purging voters, or tampering with election equipment and forms. Instead, they're pushing laws designed to change election outcomes by reducing voting, repressing turnout, and turning the clock back to the days of Jim Crow. This is the exact opposite of where our country needs to go. With almost 40% of eligible voters regularly staying away from voting booths, we need to be expanding participation in our democracy, making the ballot more accessible, not less. We cannot and we must not allow democracy to be undermined, especially while we're promoting democracy abroad. We must unmask these shameful attempts to disenfranchise voters. Let's stop this partisan effort that strikes really at the very core of our country. Let's win this war against voters. We should be about dismantling and reducing barriers so that we can really begin to reignite the American dream for those who have lost hope. So I want to thank my colleagues, especially Congresswoman Fudge, for their calls to protect the right to vote on behalf of all of the citizens across this great nation. Thank you, and I yield the balance of my time.
The gentlelady yields back. The chair recognizes the gentlelady from California, Ms. Chu, for 5 minutes.
America doesn't have a small business problem. It has a startup problem. That was the title of a recent Washington Post article. It pointed to the fact that self-employed startup businesses have been the chosen alternative for millions of Americans, but we must do more to help them. Today, 1 out of every 3 new jobs is created by self-employed startup businesses. But we can do better. Compared to other wealthy countries, the U.S. ranks 23rd in new businesses formed per 1,000 working adults. These entrepreneurs take risks to make it on their own, but they could do better if we help them be competitive. That is why yesterday I introduced the Entrepreneur Startup Growth Act. One of the most intimidating times of the year for new owners is tax season as they learn and navigate the different tax standards for businesses. My bill turns this tough time into an opportunity by offering not only affordable business tax assistance, but business development services so that these companies can get the advice they need in order to grow. This bill builds on the Self-Employment Tax Initiative launched by CFED, the Corporation for Enterprise Development, a nonprofit economic opportunity organization. According to CFED, nearly 2/3 of all self-employed people are operating business startups. Self-employed startups in their first year of existence create an average of 3 million jobs per year. In fact, without business startups, there would be no net job growth in the U.S. economy. Nearly all net job creation since 1980 has occurred in self-employed startups less than 5 years old. They are critical to our economy. In my bill, community-based organizations, local governments, and higher education institutions are eligible to apply for grants up to $75,000 to operate this program. The IRS will work with the Small Business Administration to ensure that the operators of the program have expertise in both tax assistance and business development assistance. This is a program that works. With such a modest investment in this assistance, 62% of businesses were able to get refundable tax credits such as EITC and Making Work Pay, refunds that they might otherwise have missed out on. The Entrepreneur Startup Growth Act will help businesses grow and help low-income households build the assets that they need in order to survive. They will get the economic security they desire. With this, we will be able to help people climb up that ladder of opportunity and reach for that American dream.
The gentlelady yields back. The chair recognizes the gentlelady from California, Ms. Spear, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise again today for the 13th time to talk about a stain on the American people, a stain on the American government. I'm talking about military assault and rape. I'm talking about the 19,000 soldiers each year who are victims of sexual assault or rape in the military. Those are figures by the Department of Defense. And yet only 13% will report because they know that if they do report, they will be summarily removed from service. In fact, 90% of them are involuntarily honorably discharged from the military after they report a rape. So what are we doing about it? Well, I have good news this morning to report. A few weeks ago, not far from here, an organization, a nonprofit, Protect Our Defenders, was born. It's launched to give voices to survivors of sexual assault in our military. More than 6,000 Americans have signed survivor Terry Odom's petition, whose story I've told here on the floor. Terry's petition demands Congress take the reporting of sexual assault and rape outside the normal chain of command. I imagine many of my colleagues have received emails and tweets or Facebook messages from their constituents about this issue. This is a movement, and we must address it. Our troops protect us, and we must protect them. Both Republicans and Democrats should be able to agree we need to fix this system. Today I'm going to tell you the story of Petty Officer Amber DeRoche. Petty Officer DeRoche served in the Navy from December 2000 to December 2005. In August of 2001, Petty Officer DeRoche was raped by two shipmates in a hotel while on port of call in Thailand. One assailant ripped off Petty Officer DeRoche's clothes and held her down while the other assailant raped her. The assailants repeatedly took turns holding her down while the other would rape her. After they had their way with her, one of the rapists threw her in the shower in an attempt to wash off the evidence. They then kicked her out of the room and onto the unfamiliar streets of Thailand. The following day, Petty Officer DeRoche, with the help of a friend, went to get a medical exam. Petty Officer DeRoche was bruised and injured to such a degree during the assault, the physician had to stop the exam and began to cry. Petty Officer DeRoche decided to report her horrific experience to her command. Well, what was her reward? She became the target of severe harassment, was imprisoned in the medical ward, and denied food. I know this sounds unbelievable, but this is going on in our military. When Petty Officer DeRoche was released from the medical ward, her command refused to let her leave the ship and forced her to be on call 24 hours a day without receiving any counseling to help her cope with having been raped. Petty Officer DeRoche sought out the ship's chaplain and told him she was suicidal as a result of the rapes and her subsequent mistreatment. Petty Officer DeRoche was finally permitted to leave her ship and serve out the remainder of her duty on another ship. As if the horrifying assault and subsequent mistreatment of Petty Officer DeRoche is not heartbreaking enough, her predators didn't get the punishment they deserved. In fact, something very different. Instead of court-martialing the predators, her command decided to handle the rapes with so-called non-judicial punishment. The punishment required the rapists to admit their crimes, so they admitted them. They got 6 months docked pay and a reduced rank for only one of the rapists. Both of the rapists were permitted to remain on active duty. When command informed Petty Officer DeRoche of the outcome, they also advised her to, quote, accept the situation, unquote, and refrain from speaking out against the lack of punishment or accountability. Petty Officer DeRoche's story, like many others, highlights a system that is unimaginable to so many of us, and a system that is so clearly broken. In the military, a base commander has complete authority. Let me repeat that, complete authority and discretion over how a degrading and violent assault under his command is handled. The commander can issue virtually any punishment for any reason. If they don't want a black mark on their record, or their friends were accused, or if they simply don't know the correct way of dealing with a case, they can issue just a simple slap on the wrist. My bill, H.R. 3435, the Sexual Assault Training, Oversight, and Prevention Act, the STOP Act, takes this issue and puts it in the hands of others who can handle it appropriately. I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the Chair declares the House in recess until noon today.
The House coming back in about 45 minutes for several bills, including a pair of motions to negotiate with the Senate on military construction spending and the Defense Programs Bill.